The information provided in this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute professional financial, investment, or legal advice. Credit cards involve financial risk, and individual results may vary based on credit history, spending habits, and financial management. Historical trends and case studies discussed are not indicators of future performance. It is essential to conduct your own due diligence, and if necessary, consult with a certified financial advisor before applying for any credit products or making significant financial decisions. Always read the specific terms and conditions provided by the credit card issuer, as rewards programs and interest rates are subject to change. Most people are effectively burning $3,000 every single year without even realizing it. They are paying for flights, hotels, and dining out using a standard debit card or a basic cashback card, unknowingly leaving a massive pile of value on the table that could have funded a first-class trip to Europe or a week-long luxury stay in Hawaii. In the United States, the credit card market is a multi-billion-dollar ecosystem designed to reward those who understand the rules and penalize those who do not. If you are currently using the same bank account and card your parents opened for you when you were 18, or if you think that a 1% cashback offer is a great deal, you are falling victim to a massive hidden tax on your daily spending. By the end of this deep dive masterclass, you will understand exactly how the top 1% of travelers use specific financial instruments to move through the world for free, and more importantly, how you can build a personalized credit strategy that turns your grocery runs and utility bills into high-value travel experiences. The problem for most Americans is not a lack of money, but a lack of optimization. We live in an economy where every transaction you make includes a hidden processing fee. When you buy a $5 latte, the merchant is already paying a percentage to the banks. If you pay with cash or a debit card, you are paying that premium but receiving zero benefits in return. You are essentially subsidizing the travel of the person standing behind you in line, who is using a premium travel credit card. This video is designed to stop that leak in your finances immediately. We are going to deconstruct the complex world of points, miles, transferable currencies, and annual fees so that you can navigate the sea of offers from Chase, American Express, Capital One, and Citi with total confidence. This is not about spending more money, it is about changing the way you pay for the things you already buy. To understand why choosing the right travel credit card is the most important financial move a beginner can make, we have to look at the sheer scale of the opportunity. In the current US market, sign-up bonuses for premium cards frequently range from 60,000 to over 100,000 points. When used correctly, these points are not just worth a penny each. Through the power of transfer partners, those points can often be redeemed for 2, 3, or even 5 cents per point in value. A single sign-up bonus can represent $2,000 in real-world travel value. For a beginner, the sheer volume of information can be overwhelming. You see advertisements for the Sapphire Preferred, the Amex Platinum, or the Venture X, and they all claim to be the best. But the reality is that the best card for a digital nomad living in Austin, Texas, is fundamentally different from the best card for a family of 4 in suburban Ohio. We are going to start this journey by breaking down the 3 pillars of the travel card ecosystem. First, we have the earn rate. This is how many points you get for every dollar spent. Most beginners focus only on this, looking for a card that gives them 3 times points on dining. However, the second pillar, which is often ignored, is the redemption flexibility. A point is only as valuable as where you can spend it. If you are locked into a single airline, you are at the mercy of their specific devaluations. The third pillar is the ecosystem of benefits. This includes everything from lounge access and TSA pre-check credits to primary rental car insurance and cell phone protection. Many people shy away from cards with a $500 annual fee, failing to realize that the card might actually provide $700 in direct, tangible credits that they were already going to spend anyway. Let's look at a case study of a typical American spender named Marcus. Marcus spends approximately $2,000 a month on his current debit card. Over the course of a year, he spends $24,000. By using a debit card, he earns 0 rewards and has minimal fraud protection. If Marcus were to switch to a foundational travel credit card, he would first earn a sign-up bonus. Let's say that bonus is worth $750 in travel. Then, by earning an average of 2 points per dollar on his $24,000 of spend, he earns another 48,000 points. If he redeems those points at a conservative valuation of 1.5 cents each, he has generated an additional $720. In his first year alone, Marcus has effectively created nearly $1,500 in travel out of thin air, simply by changing the piece of plastic he swipes at the register. However, the trap that many beginners fall into is the pursuit of points at the expense of their credit score or their long-term financial health. This masterclass is rooted in the principle of responsible credit management. Before you even look at a card's flashy metal design or its lounge access, you must understand your own credit profile. In the United States, your FICO score is the gatekeeper. Most high-tier travel cards require a score in the good to excellent range, typically above 700. If you are starting with a lower score, your strategy is not to jump for the premium cards immediately, but to use starter cards to build a history of on-time payments. We will go into the exact mechanics of how a credit card application affects your score, including the temporary dip from a hard inquiry versus the long-term gain from an increased total credit limit and a lower utilization ratio. One of the most confusing aspects for beginners is the difference between a co-branded card and a transferable points card. A co-branded card is something like the Delta SkyMiles card or the Hilton Honors card. These are great if you are a loyalist to one specific brand, but they limit your options. If Delta raises the price of a flight to London from 60,000 miles to 100,000 miles overnight, your points just lost 40% of their value. On the other hand, transferable points cards, like those in the Chase Ultimate Rewards or Amex Membership Rewards programs, allow you to move your points to dozens of different airlines and hotels. This flexibility is your ultimate hedge against inflation and devaluations. It is the difference between having a gift card to one specific store and having cash that can be spent anywhere. As we move through this 10-part series, we are going to dive deep into the specific rules that banks use to decide if they want you as a customer. You might have heard of the Chase 524 rule, which is a legendary piece of credit card lore that can make or break your strategy. If you have opened 5 or more personal credit cards from any issuer in the last 24 months, Chase will almost certainly deny your application, regardless of how high your credit score is. This is why the order in which you apply for cards is just as important as the cards themselves. We will provide a step-by-step roadmap for your first 24 months in this hobby to ensure you don't accidentally lock yourself out of the most valuable bonuses in the industry. The goal of this part of the script is to set the foundation. We are moving away from the mindset of being a consumer and moving toward the mindset of being a strategist. You need to stop looking at a credit card as a way to borrow money and start looking at it as a tool to capture the value that is already being generated by your lifestyle. Every time you pay your phone bill, every time you buy groceries, and every time you fill up your gas tank, you are generating data and value for the banks. They are willing to pay you for that value in the form of travel rewards. This video is going to show you how to maximize that payment. We will cover the math of annual fees to see if they are actually worth it, the secret perks that can save you thousands on travel insurance, and the specific ways to find the best deals that never appear on the front page of the bank's website. By the time we are done, you won't just have a new credit card. You will have a comprehensive travel strategy that works for you while you sleep. Imagine Sarah, a 32-year-old marketing manager in Chicago. It is March 2026, and Sarah has been using a basic 1.5% cashback card from her local credit union for the last 7 years. She is responsible, pays her bills on time, and has never carried a balance. Last year, she spent $30,000 on that card, earning $450 in cash back. She felt proud of that amount until she sat next to someone on a flight to London who had booked their business class seat, a value of $6,000, for the exact same amount of spending she did. Sarah was playing a game she did not realize was rigged against her because she was collecting the wrong currency. This is the fundamental divide in the American financial landscape of 2026. You are either earning a fixed value asset that devalues with inflation, or you are earning a strategic asset that can be leveraged for outsized travel experiences. To bridge this gap, the first thing you must master is the gatekeeper of the entire system, your FICO score. In 2026, the lending environment has tightened. While you could occasionally slip through with a 680 score a few years ago, the premium travel cards like the Chase Sapphire Reserve or the Amex Platinum now almost universally require a score of 720 or higher for a smooth approval. If you are sitting at a 650, your priority is not choosing a travel card, it is fixing your utilization ratio. Imagine if you have a $10,000 total credit limit across all your cards, and you are carrying a $3,000 balance. Even if you pay it off every month, the moment that statement closes, the credit bureaus see 30% utilization. In the eyes of an automated approval algorithm at a major bank, this looks like financial stress. To position yourself for a high-limit travel card, You should aim to keep that reported utilization below 10% for at least 60 days before you apply. Once your score is in the 700s, you hit the most famous wall in the industry, the Chase 524 rule. This is not an official law, but a historically documented algorithmic hard stop that is more relevant than ever in 2024, 2025, and now 2026. If you have opened 5 or more personal credit cards from any bank in the last 24 months, Chase will automatically deny your application. It does not matter if you have a perfect 850 credit score, or if you have $1 million in a Chase private client account. This rule exists to prevent people from opening cards just for the bonuses and then moving on. For a beginner, this means you must be incredibly protective of your slots. If you walk into a retail store and they offer you 20% off your purchase of $200 if you open a store credit card, you are effectively trading a Chase 524 slot for $40. That same slot could have been used for a Chase Sapphire Preferred 60,000-point bonus worth over $1,000. That is a $960 mistake, made in a split second at a checkout counter. The landscape of 2026 has also seen a significant rise in annual fees. The American Express Platinum Card now carries an annual fee of $895, and the Chase Sapphire Reserve has moved to $795. For a beginner, these numbers look terrifying. However, we have to look at the net effective cost. Let's take the Capital One Venture X as a case study for a high retention strategy. It has a $395 annual fee. On the surface, that sounds like a lot, but the card provides a $300 annual travel credit for bookings through their portal and 10,000 bonus miles every year on your anniversary, which are worth at least $100. If you travel even once a year, the bank is essentially paying you $5 to hold the card. This is why you cannot judge a card by its sticker price. You have to judge it by its ecosystem. This brings us to the debate of transferable points versus fixed value points. Sarah, our marketing manager from Chicago, was earning fixed value cash back. $1 of cash back is always worth $1. But in an era of rising hotel prices and airline ticket costs, that dollar buys less every year. Transferable points, like those from Chase Ultimate Rewards or Amex Membership Rewards, act as a diversified investment portfolio. If United Airlines devalues its miles, you can transfer your points to Hyatt for a luxury hotel stay instead. If Hyatt raises its prices, you can transfer to British Airways or Air France. By holding transferable points, you are the one in control. You are not at the mercy of a single airline's corporate board. Think about the potential outcomes of a single strategic application. If Sarah had opened a Chase Sapphire Preferred when it had a 75,000-point bonus, and she spent the required $4,000 in 3 months on her normal expenses, she would have ended up with 80,000 points. If she transferred those points to the World of Hyatt program, she could book 4 nights at a Category 4 hotel like the Hyatt Regency Grand Cypress in Orlando, where rooms often go for $350 a night. That is $1,400 of value from one card application. Compare that to her 1.5% cash back on $4,000 of spending, which would have netted her exactly $60. The difference between $60 and $1,400 is the cost of being uneducated in this system. But there is a catch that beginners often miss: the impact of the application itself. Every time you apply for a premium travel card, the bank does a hard inquiry on your credit report. This typically causes a temporary drop of 3 to 5 points. In 2026, with interest rates fluctuating, you need to be strategic. If you are planning to apply for a mortgage or an auto loan in the next 6 months, you should hold off on new credit card applications. The small drop in your score might not seem like much, but it could be the difference between a 5.5% interest rate and a 6% rate on a $400,000 home loan. Over 30 years, that 0.5% difference costs you tens of thousands of dollars. The goal is to use travel credit cards to enhance your life, not to jeopardize your major financial milestones. Step by step, the process for a beginner in 2026 starts with a data audit. You need to pull your credit report and count exactly how many cards you have opened since March 2024. If that number is 0, 1, or 2, you are in the golden zone for Chase. If you are at 4, you have one shot left before the door closes for a while. You also need to look at your average monthly spending. There is no point in applying for a card with a high sign-up bonus if you have to spend $6,000 in 3 months, but you only earn $3,000. We call this manufactured spending, and it is a dangerous path for beginners. Your strategy should always be to align the card's requirements with spending you were already going to do, like paying for a car repair, a new laptop, or your semi-annual insurance premiums. Imagine if you could turn your most boring monthly bills into a flight to Tokyo. By the time we reach the next phase of this guide, you will see exactly which card should be your first and why most people actually pick the wrong one. Choosing the right first card is not just about the bonus. It is about establishing a relationship with a bank that will give you 10 more cards over the next decade. Many people jump for the shiny metal card first, only to realize they have backed themselves into a corner where they can no longer get the most valuable foundational cards. In the next part, we are going to look at the 3-card starter packs. We will break down why the Chase Trifecta is still the king of 2026 for most people, but why a new challenger from Capital One is starting to steal the crown for those who value simplicity over everything else. We will also reveal the hidden travel insurance benefits that could save you $5,000 if your trip is canceled due to a storm, a perk that most people do not even know they have until it is too late. To understand the power of a coordinated credit card strategy, we have to move past the idea of having just one card. In the United States credit landscape of 2026, the most successful travelers utilize what we call an ecosystem approach. This is often referred to as a trifecta. The most famous of these is the Chase Trifecta. Imagine David, a high school teacher in Seattle. David spends about $500 a month on groceries, $400 on dining out, and another $300 on miscellaneous gas and streaming services. If David only uses the Chase Sapphire Preferred, he earns 2 points per dollar on travel and 3 points per dollar on dining. But on his groceries and gas, he is only earning 1 point per dollar. By adding 2 more specific cards to his wallet, David can effectively double his total points yield without spending a single extra penny of his own money. The Chase Trifecta traditionally consists of the Chase Sapphire Preferred or Reserve, the Chase Freedom Flex, and the Chase Freedom Unlimited. Here is how the math works in a real-world 2026 scenario. David uses the Freedom Flex for its rotating 5% categories. In the first quarter of 2026, that category might be grocery stores and fitness clubs. Instead of earning 1 point per dollar, he is now earning 5 points. In the second quarter, it might shift to Amazon and gas stations. For everything else that does not fall into a specialized category, like his cell phone bill or a new pair of shoes, he uses the Freedom Unlimited, which earns 1.5 points per dollar on every single purchase. However, the magic happens because David also holds the Sapphire Preferred. On their own, the points earned on the Freedom cards are essentially just cash back. But because David has a Sapphire card, he can move those Freedom points into his Sapphire account. This unlocks the ability to transfer those points to high-value travel partners like Southwest Airlines, United, or Hyatt. Historical trends show that while a cashback user might get $100 for 10,000 points, a strategic user like David can turn those same 10,000 points into a $250 night at a luxury hotel. This is a 250% increase in value simply by moving numbers from one app screen to another. But 2026 has brought a new challenger to the throne: the Capital One Duo. For many beginners, the Chase Trifecta feels like too much work. Tracking rotating categories and managing 3 different statements can be a hurdle. This is where the combination of the Capital One Venture X and the Capital One Saver has gained massive popularity. Imagine if you only wanted 2 cards. The Venture X acts as your catch-all, earning 2 miles per dollar on every single purchase, regardless of what it is. The Saver card covers your life at home, earning high multiples on dining, entertainment, and popular streaming services. In this ecosystem, the miles you earn on the Saver card can be moved instantly to your Venture X account and then transferred to partners like British Airways or Turkish Airlines. Let's look at a case study comparing these 2 paths for a beginner. If a user spends $20,000 a year with $5,000 on dining, $5,000 on groceries, and $10,000 on miscellaneous items, the Chase Trifecta would yield approximately 45,000 to 50,000 points, depending on how well they utilize the rotating categories. The Capital One Duo would yield roughly 45,000 miles with significantly less effort. The choice for a beginner in 2026 often comes down to their preferred travel style. If you want to stay at Hyatt hotels, Chase is the clear winner because they are the exclusive transfer partner for Hyatt. If you prefer a simple, high-floor strategy where you never earn less than 2% back, Capital One is often the better entry point. Beyond the points, we must discuss the invisible safety net provided by these cards. This is where the value of a travel card often pays for the annual fee in a single afternoon. Most beginners ignore the guide to benefits that comes in the mail, but in 2026, travel disruptions have become more frequent due to shifting weather patterns and airline labor shortages. Consider the trip cancellation and interruption insurance. If you book a non-refundable flight and hotel package for a trip to Japan using a premium card like the Chase Sapphire Preferred, and you or an immediate family member get sick right before the trip, the card can reimburse you for your non-refundable expenses up to $10,000 per person. Case studies from recent years show that travelers who paid with a standard debit card were left fighting for vouchers that often expired before they could be used, while those with premium travel cards received statement credits for their lost deposits. There is also the trip delay reimbursement. If your flight is delayed by more than 6 hours or requires an overnight stay, cards like the Venture X or Sapphire Preferred provide up to $500 per ticket to cover your hotel, meals, and toiletries. Imagine if your flight is canceled at 10 p.m. in a city where you don't live. Instead of sleeping on a terminal bench or paying $400 for a last-minute airport hotel, you simply book the hotel, keep your receipts, and let the insurance company handle the bill. This is not a potential outcome that requires luck. It is a contractual benefit of the card. We also have to talk about primary rental car insurance. Most cards offer secondary insurance, which means they only pay what your personal auto insurance won't cover. This is a headache because you still have to file a claim with your own provider, which can cause your monthly premiums to skyrocket. However, a select few cards, including the Sapphire Preferred and the Venture X, offer primary coverage. If you dent a rental car in California, you decline the rental agency's expensive daily insurance, pay with your card, and if something happens, you deal directly with the credit card's insurance provider. Your personal car insurance never even hears about it, and your rates stay exactly where they are. For a beginner, the decision-making process should involve a 2-year horizon. You are not just picking a card for today, you are building a foundation. If you start with a card from a bank that has a weak ecosystem, you are essentially building a house on sand. In the United States, the 4 major ecosystems are Chase, American Express, Capital One, and Citi. While Citi has improved their offerings in 2025 and 2026 with the refreshed Strata Premier, Chase and American Express still dominate the premium space. We will look at why American Express is often the second step in a journey, rather than the first, due to their once-in-a-lifetime sign-up bonus rule. If you get the wrong Amex card first, you might be permanently ineligible for a higher bonus on that same card later. Imagine if you could accurately predict which card would give you the most value based on your specific zip code and the airport you fly out of most often. If you live in Atlanta, you are in a Delta hub, which changes your strategy entirely compared to someone living in Dallas, a major American Airlines hub. The geography of your life dictates the geography of your points. As we prepare to look at the specific card-by-card breakdowns in the next part, you need to have your monthly spending numbers ready. We are going to look at the exact math of the sign-up bonus versus the annual fee. We will also address the elephant in the room. What happens to your points if you decide the card isn't for you and you want to close it? Most people lose their entire balance because they don't know the one simple trick to keep their points alive forever without paying an annual fee. In the next part, we will reveal the secret of the downgrade path and how to move from a $500 card to a $0 card while keeping every single mile you earned. In the world of credit card strategy, the exit plan is just as important as the entry plan. Most beginners make the mistake of thinking that once they apply for a card with a high annual fee, they are locked into that fee forever or must cancel the card and lose their hard-earned points if the cost becomes too high. This is where the concept of the product change, or the downgrade path, becomes a critical tool for your long-term financial health. Imagine Michael, a graphic designer in Austin, Texas. In 2025, Michael applied for the Chase Sapphire Reserve, which carries a $550 annual fee. By 2026, his travel habits changed, and he no longer felt he was getting enough value to justify that specific expense. Instead of canceling the card, which would have shortened his average age of accounts and potentially lowered his credit score, Michael utilized a product change. A product change allows you to move within the same family of cards at a specific bank. For Michael, this meant calling Chase and asking to downgrade his Sapphire Reserve to a Chase Freedom Unlimited. Because the Freedom Unlimited has a $0 annual fee, Michael stopped paying the $550 charge immediately. More importantly, he kept his entire credit line intact and preserved his points. While he could no longer transfer those points to airline partners without a Sapphire tier card, the points remain safe in his account. If Michael decides to pick up a Sapphire Preferred later, those points are still there, waiting to be reactivated for high-value transfers. This strategy is essential for maintaining a high credit score over decades because it allows you to keep your oldest accounts active without paying a cent in fees. However, the rules for these transitions vary wildly between banks. In the American Express ecosystem, the rules are more rigid. If you have an American Express Platinum card, you can only downgrade it to an American Express Gold or an American Express Green card. All three of these cards have annual fees. You cannot downgrade a premium American Express charge card to a no annual fee credit card like the Blue Cash Everyday. This is a vital distinction that beginners often miss. If you are not prepared to pay at least $150 a year for the Green card, your only option with Amex might be to cancel the account entirely. Before you apply for any card with a fee, you must research the available downgrade options to ensure you have a safe landing spot if your financial situation changes. Beyond the downgrade path, we have to talk about the retention offer. This is a specialized negotiation that happens once a year between the cardholder and the bank. In 2026, banks are more aggressive than ever in trying to keep high-value customers. When Michael's annual fee for his Amex Platinum card hit his statement, he didn't just pay it or cancel. He used the chat feature in the Amex app and asked if there were any spending offers available to help offset the fee. Because Michael had been a consistent spender, the bank offered him 35,000 membership rewards points if he spent $3,000 in the next 3 months. Based on historical trends, those points are worth at least $700 toward travel, which effectively covered most of his annual fee. This is a case study in why you should never close a card without first asking the bank for a reason to stay. To effectively choose your first or next card, you need to categorize cards into 2 groups: keeper cards and bonus cards. A keeper card is one where the ongoing benefits naturally outweigh the annual fee every single year. The Marriott Bonvoy Boundless is a classic example. It has a $95 annual fee, but it provides a free night award every year on your anniversary that can be used at hotels costing $300 or more. As long as you stay in a hotel once a year, the card is paying you $200 to keep it. A bonus card, on the other hand, is one where the sign-up bonus is massive, but the ongoing perks might not fit your lifestyle long-term. You get these cards for the initial influx of points, keep them for 1 year to satisfy the bank's terms, and then evaluate a downgrade or a retention offer. The timing of your applications is the next layer of this masterclass. In the United States, credit card bonuses fluctuate like the stock market. Applying for a card when the bonus is at its historical low is one of the most common beginner errors. For example, the Chase Sapphire Preferred often has a standard 60,000 point bonus. However, historical data shows that once or twice a year, that bonus jumps to 75,000 or even 80,000 points. Waiting for that extra 20,000 points is the equivalent of waiting for a free $250 check. There are public databases and community-driven trackers that monitor these historical trends, allowing you to see if the current offer is a buy or a wait. When you are ready to hit the apply button, you must have a plan for the minimum spend requirement. This is the amount of money you must spend on the card within a specific time frame, usually 3 to 6 months, to trigger the sign-up bonus. In 2026, these requirements have moved higher, with some premium cards requiring $8,000 in spend. Beginners often panic and start buying things they don't need just to hit the bonus. This is a trap. The goal is to funnel your existing expenses. Case studies of successful beginners show a trend of timing applications around major life events. If you know you have a semi-annual car insurance payment of $1,200, a quarterly tax payment, and a planned vacation, that is the perfect window to open a new card. You are simply redirecting money that was already leaving your bank account to unlock a massive reward. There is also the concept of the business card loophole that many beginners are afraid of, but is perfectly legal and highly effective in 2026. Many people don't realize they qualify for business credit cards. Do you sell items on eBay? Do you walk dogs? Do you have a side hustle as a consultant or a freelance writer? If so, you are a sole proprietor. Business cards from banks like Chase and American Express often have even higher bonuses than personal cards, and crucially, most business cards from Chase do not count toward your 524 status. This means you can earn 100,000 points on a Chase Inc. Business Preferred card, without using up one of those precious 5 slots for your personal cards. This is the secret way that advanced travelers manage to earn millions of points while keeping their personal credit reports clean. Imagine if you could earn 1,000,000 points in a single year without ever carrying a balance or paying a cent in interest. It is entirely possible if you understand the rotation of these systems. But before you can run, you have to walk. You have to choose the right ecosystem that fits your home airport and your favorite hotel brands. If you live in a city dominated by Delta, but you spend all your time earning Southwest Rapid Rewards points, you are creating a friction point in your travel that doesn't need to exist. As we move into the next part of this deep dive, we are going to get into the specific numbers. We are going to compare the big three ecosystems head-to-head. Chase versus American Express versus Capital One. We will look at the exact point valuations for 2026 and show you why a point from one bank might be worth twice as much as a point from another. We will also address the hidden dangers of the credit card portals and why the price you see on the bank's website might be a total ripoff compared to the secret prices available through transfer partners. We are about to pull back the curtain on the transfer partner network, which is where the real wealth in this hobby is hidden. To understand why transfer partners are the holy grail of travel credit cards in 2026, you first have to understand the concept of a fixed versus a variable asset. Most beginners look at the Chase travel portal or the Amex travel site and see a flight for $500. They see that their 50,000 points can buy that flight, giving them a value of exactly 1 cent per point. They think this is a good deal because it is simple. However, the advanced traveler looks at those same 50,000 points and sees a business class seat on a partner airline that retails for $4,000. By transferring those points to an airline loyalty program, rather than spending them in the bank's portal, they have increased the value of their points by 800%. This is the secret price list that banks don't want the average consumer to master, because every time you get 5 cents of value per point, the bank is the one subsidizing your luxury. The landscape of 2026 has divided the major players into very specific niches. Let's start with Chase Ultimate Rewards, which remains the gold standard for beginners because of its partnership with the world of Hyatt. While airline miles have faced significant inflation over the last 2 years, Hyatt has maintained a relatively stable award chart. Imagine Alex, a software developer in San Francisco, wants to take a trip to the Park Hyatt Kyoto in late 2026. The cash price for a room there can easily exceed $1,200 a night. Through the Chase portal, Alex would need 120,000 points per night. But by transferring those points 1:1 to Hyatt, Alex might find availability for just 40,000 points. This is a case study in point leverage. In 2026, Chase is the only major bank that transfers to Hyatt, making cards like the Sapphire Preferred or the Sapphire Reserve mandatory for anyone who values high-end hotel stays. In contrast, American Express membership rewards has doubled down on being the king of international airfare. In 2026, with the Amex Platinum annual fee sitting at $895, you are paying a premium for access to a massive network of 17 airline partners. Amex points are like a skeleton key for the world's most luxurious airplanes. Historical trends show that Amex frequently offers transfer bonuses, such as a 30% kicker when you move points to Virgin Atlantic or Air France-KLM Flying Blue. If you find a flight for 50,000 miles and use a 30% bonus, you only need 39,000 Amex points to book it. For a beginner, Amex is the best ecosystem if your primary goal is flying in a lie-flat seat across the Atlantic or Pacific for the price of an economy ticket. However, a massive shift has occurred in 2026 regarding airport lounge access, which might influence your choice more than the points themselves. As of February 1, 2026, both American Express and Capital One have implemented stricter guest policies. If you hold the Amex Platinum or the Capital One Venture X, you can no longer bring 2 guests into the Centurion or Capital One lounges for free, unless you hit a massive annual spending requirement, often $75,000. Chase, however, has taken a different path with its newer Sapphire lounges. Currently, the Chase Sapphire Reserve is the only premium card that still allows for 2 complimentary guests per visit without a spending hurdle. For a family of 3 or a couple traveling with a friend, the Sapphire Reserve has suddenly become the most cost-effective premium card on the market, despite its $795 annual fee. We also have to discuss the rise of Bilt rewards in 2026. Bilt has completely disrupted the beginner market by being the only card that allows you to earn points on rent without a transaction fee. For a renter in a city like New York or Los Angeles paying $3,000 a month, that is 36,000 points a year just for paying the bill you already have. Bilt's transfer partner list is arguably the strongest in the industry because it is the only program that transfers to both Hyatt and Alaska Airlines. Alaska Airlines joined the One World Alliance a few years ago and has become a favorite for savvy travelers because of its unique partnerships with airlines like Japan Airlines and Qatar Airways. If you are a renter in 2026, the Bilt MasterCard is often the first card recommended because it creates a high-value point stream out of your largest monthly expense. Now, let's look at the step-by-step process of how you actually execute a transfer, because this is where beginners often get paralyzed by fear. Imagine you have found a flight on the Air France website that costs 50,000 miles. You have 50,000 points in your Chase or Amex account. Step 1 is never to transfer the points immediately. Points are a one-way street. Once they leave the bank and enter the airline program, you cannot move them back. You must first create a free frequent flyer account with the airline and confirm that the flight is available for an award booking. In 2026, airline websites have become better at showing ghost availability, flights that look like they are there but aren't actually bookable. You must proceed all the way to the final payment screen to ensure the seat is real. Only then do you go to your bank's website, link your frequent flyer number, and hit transfer. Most transfers in 2026 are instantaneous, meaning the points will show up in your airline account before you can even refresh the page. To master this, you need to understand airline alliances. There are 3 major ones: Star Alliance, oneworld, and SkyTeam. This is critical because you can use points from one airline to book flights on another airline within the same alliance. For example, you can use Air Canada Aeroplan points, which you can get by transferring from Chase, Amex, or Capital One to book a flight on United Airlines. Why would you do this? Because Air Canada often charges fewer miles for the exact same United flight than United themselves would charge. This is the ultimate insider secret of 2026. By searching for a domestic U.S. flight on a foreign airline's website, you can often find what we call saver level awards that are significantly cheaper than the prices shown on the domestic carrier's own site. Imagine if you spent $10,000 on a new kitchen remodel. If you put that on a standard cashback card, you get $200 back. If you put it on a new Amex Gold card with a high sign-up bonus, you earn 90,000 points. In 2026, those 90,000 points can be transferred to ANA, the Japanese airline, to book a round-trip business class flight from Los Angeles to Tokyo. That flight retails for $8,000. Your kitchen remodel just gave you an 80% return on your investment in the form of travel. That is the power of the Transfer Partner Network. But what if you aren't looking for luxury? What if you just want to visit your family for the holidays? Even then, transfer partners win. Southwest Airlines is a Chase transfer partner. During a holiday sale, a flight might only cost 8,000 Southwest points. If you have those points sitting in your Chase account, you can move them over and book the flight instantly. The flexibility to choose between a luxury safari in Africa or a quick flight to see grandma is what makes a transferable points card superior to any other financial product in your wallet. As we move toward the next part of this masterclass, we are going to look at the dark side of the industry. We will discuss the specific traps that banks set to get you to waste your points, including the one button you should never click on your bank's homepage. We are also going to break down the exact math of the 2026 lounge networks to see which card actually gets you through the door when the airport is packed. We will reveal why the most expensive card in your wallet might actually be the one that saves you the most money by the end of the year. In the next part, we tackle the premium card showdown. Amex Platinum versus Chase Sapphire Reserve versus Venture X. We will find out which one truly deserves your $500 to $900 annual fee. The choice between the big 3 premium cards in 2026 is no longer about which card has the coolest metal design. It is a cold, hard mathematical calculation based on your existing lifestyle. If you are a beginner, the high annual fees of these cards can induce immediate sticker shock. We are looking at an environment where the American Express Platinum sits at $895, the Chase Sapphire Reserve is at $795, and the Capital One Venture X remains the relative bargain at $395. To choose the right one, you have to stop looking at the fee as a cost and start looking at it as a prepayment for services you were already going to buy. We call this the net effective cost. Let us start with the American Express Platinum, which in 2026 has transitioned from being a travel card into a lifestyle luxury coupon book. Imagine James, a consultant in New York City. James already pays for a digital entertainment subscription like Hulu or Disney+, he uses Uber at least twice a month, and he goes to an Equinox gym. For James, the Amex Platinum is not an $895 expense. The card provides $240 in digital entertainment credits, $200 in Uber Cash, and a $300 Equinox credit. Just those 3 items alone total $740 in value. When you add the $200 airline fee credit and the $200 hotel credit, James is actually being paid over $200 a year to hold the card, provided he was going to spend that money anyway. However, if James did not use those services, the card would be a massive financial drain. This is the danger of the Amex ecosystem for a beginner. If you have to change your spending habits to justify the card, the bank has already won. In contrast, the Chase Sapphire Reserve has focused its 2026 strategy on pure travel flexibility. Its $795 fee is high, but it comes with a $300 travel credit that is the easiest in the industry to use. Unlike Amex, which requires you to jump through hoops and select a specific airline, the Chase credit is automatically applied to the first $300 you spend on anything remotely related to travel: taxis, trains, parking garages, tolls, flights, or hotels. This effectively brings the fee down to $495 instantly. For a beginner, the Sapphire Reserve is often the superior choice because of the 1.5 cents per point redemption floor in the Chase travel portal. While we have discussed the power of transfer partners, having the ability to book any flight on any airline at a fixed high value provides a safety net that Amex simply does not offer. If there is a cheap domestic flight that doesn't have award availability, the Chase user still gets a great deal, while the Amex user is stuck with a poor redemption rate of 1 cent per point or less. Then we have the disruptor of the group, the Capital One Venture X. In 2026, this card remains the most recommended entry point for people who want premium perks without the premium management. For a $395 fee, you get a $300 credit for bookings made through Capital One Travel and 10,000 bonus miles every anniversary. As we established, this makes the card effectively free. But the real value for a beginner in 2026 is the simplicity of the earning structure. You earn 2 miles per dollar on every single purchase. There are no categories to track, no rotating quarters, and no math required at the grocery store. For someone like James, if he wants a card that just works without needing a spreadsheet to manage, the Venture X is the clear winner. Furthermore, Capital One has been the most aggressive in building out its own lounge network in 2026, with new locations in major hubs like Denver, Dallas, and Dulles that many travelers now prefer over the often crowded Centurion lounges. A critical data point for 2026 is the shift in lounge access for authorized users. This is a strategy many families use to share benefits. On the Amex Platinum, adding authorized users now costs $195 per person. On the Chase Sapphire Reserve, it is $75. But the Venture X still allows you to add up to 4 authorized users for free. Each of those authorized users gets their own Priority Pass membership and access to Capital One lounges. This means a single $395 annual fee can provide lounge access for an entire extended family. In a year where airport terminals are more crowded than ever, the ability to move 5 people into a quiet lounge with free food and high-speed internet is a benefit that can be worth thousands of dollars over the course of a year. However, we must look at the historical trends of point valuations within these 3 specific cards. In 2026, American Express membership rewards points are generally valued higher for international business class because of their unique transfer partners like All Nippon Airways and Iberia. Chase points are valued higher for domestic travel and hotels because of Hyatt and Southwest. Capital One miles have moved into a strong third place by offering a 1-to-1 transfer ratio to almost all of their partners, including high-value options like Turkish Airlines and British Airways. If your goal is to fly to Europe in a lie-flat seat once a year, the Amex Platinum's high earn rate on flights, 5 points per dollar, makes it the fastest way to get there. But if your goal is to save money on your annual family trip to Disney World, the Chase Sapphire Reserve's ecosystem will likely serve you better. Step by step, how do you decide? You must perform a 30-day spending audit. Look at your bank statements from the last month and categorize every transaction. If your highest spend is on dining and groceries, you might actually be better off with a mid-tier card like the Amex Gold or the Chase Sapphire Preferred combined with a Freedom card, rather than these heavy hitters. The premium cards are designed for people who are already on the road or in the air. If you only fly once a year, paying an $800 fee for lounge access and premium insurance is mathematically suboptimal. You are essentially paying for a subscription to a club you rarely visit. Imagine if you chose the Amex Platinum because you saw a celebrity using it, but you live in a city where there is no Centurion Lounge and you never shop at Saks Fifth Avenue. You are effectively gifting American Express several $100s a year. On the other hand, imagine if you chose the Venture X and used it for your small business expenses. Within 6 months, you would have enough miles for 2 round-trip tickets to Hawaii, and the card wouldn't have cost you a dime after the credits. This is the difference between falling for marketing and mastering the math of 2026. As we look toward the next phase of this guide, we are going to address the specific application strategies that ensure a high chance of approval. Banks have become much more sophisticated in their anti-churning logic in 2026. We will discuss the 1 in 6 rule, the 2 in 90 rule, and the specific reasons why a bank might deny you even if you have a perfect credit score. We will also reveal the secret to getting the highest possible sign-up bonus, which often involves a technique called the incognito method, or finding specific referral links that are not available on the main bank websites. But before we get to the application, there is one more ecosystem we haven't touched on, the dark horse of 2026 that is offering better rewards for gas and groceries than any of the big three. In the next part, we dive into the mid-tier masters and show you how to build a powerhouse wallet without ever paying a fee over $250. We will also look at the impact of business cards on your personal credit and how one specific card can hide your spending from the credit bureaus entirely, allowing you to maintain a perfect score even when you have large balances. The specific card that allows you to manage significant monthly spending without it ever appearing on your personal credit report is the Chase Ink Business Cash, or the Chase Ink Business Preferred. In the American financial system of 2026, business credit cards from major issuers like Chase, American Express, and Bank of America do not report your monthly balance or utilization to the personal credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, as long as the account remains in good standing.
Imagine Maria, a freelance interior designer in Miami.
In preparation for a large project, Maria spends $15,000 on materials in a single month. If she used her personal Chase Sapphire Preferred, her credit utilization would skyrocket, potentially causing her FICO score to drop by 50 or 60 points overnight. This could be disastrous if she were also trying to qualify for a car loan or a mortgage that same month. By putting that spending on her Chase Ink business card, the $15,000 balance remains invisible to personal lenders. Maria maintains her perfect 820 credit score, while still earning points on every dollar of that $15,000 purchase. This brings us to the mid-tier masters of 2026, the cards that form the backbone of a high-value strategy without the extreme $800 annual fees. The undisputed heavyweight in this category is the American Express Gold Card. In 2026, the annual fee for the Amex Gold has settled at $325. For a beginner who spends heavily on groceries and dining, the math is staggering. The card earns 4 membership rewards points per dollar at U.S. supermarkets on up to $25,000 in purchases per year and 4 points per dollar at restaurants worldwide. If a household spends $1,000 a month on groceries and dining, a very common figure for a family in 2026, they are earning 48,000 points a year just on food. Based on historical trends and the ability to transfer to partners like Air Canada or Virgin Atlantic, those 48,000 points are worth approximately $1,000 in travel. To offset the $325 fee, the Amex Gold provides $120 in Uber Cash and $120 in dining credits for specific partners like Cheesecake Factory or Grubhub. If you are already ordering takeout once or twice a month, your net effective cost for the Amex Gold is only $85. For $85, you are generating $1,000 in travel value every single year. This is why many experts in 2026 suggest that for the average American, the Amex Gold is a far more powerful daily driver than the Amex Platinum. The Platinum is for the airport, the Gold is for the kitchen table. Now let us look at the Chase alternative, the Chase Sapphire Preferred. For over a decade, this has been the most recommended first travel card in the United States, and in 2026 that has not changed. With a $95 annual fee, it is accessible to almost anyone. It earns 3 points per dollar on dining and online groceries, and 2 points per dollar on travel. But the real value lies in the 10% anniversary point bonus and the $50 annual hotel credit for bookings through Chase Travel. If you stay in a hotel once a year, the card costs you $45. Case studies of beginners who started with the Sapphire Preferred show a high rate of satisfaction because it unlocks the entire Chase ecosystem, including the ability to transfer points to Hyatt, which we have already established is the most valuable hotel transfer partner in the world. However, a new contender has emerged in 2026 for those who prioritize gas and travel. The City Strata Premier has undergone a massive refresh. It now earns 3 points per dollar on air travel, hotels, gas stations, restaurants, and supermarkets. This is the most diverse 3x earning structure in the mid-tier market. For a commuter who spends $300 a month on gas and another $600 on groceries, the Strata Premier is a point-earning machine. While Citi's transfer partners are slightly more niche than Chase or Amex, Focusing on programs like choice privileges for hotels or Qatar Airways for flights, the sheer volume of points you can earn from everyday living makes it a compelling choice for the suburban traveler who spends more time in a minivan than a jet. Imagine if you could combine the best of these cards. This is where the advanced beginner moves into the multi-issuer strategy. You are not forced to stay within one ecosystem. In 2026, the most optimized wallet for a U.S. traveler often includes a Chase Sapphire preferred for Hyatt stays and primary rental car insurance, an Amex Gold for all food spending, and a Capital One Venture X as a catch-all for anything that doesn't fall into a bonus category. This allows you to accumulate 3 different types of valuable points, protecting you against a sudden devaluation from any single bank. But with multiple cards comes the risk of complexity. How do you track all these points and annual fees? In 2026, specialized apps have become the standard. Tools like Max Rewards or Award Wallet allow you to sync your accounts and see exactly when your next annual fee is due, and which card you should pull out of your wallet at a specific merchant. Historical trends show that travelers who use these tracking tools are 40% more likely to hit their sign-up bonuses on time and avoid accidental interest charges. We must reiterate that the entire travel card strategy falls apart the moment you pay a single dollar in interest. The average credit card interest rate in 2026 is hovering around 24%. If you carry a balance of $1,000, you are paying $20 a month in interest. That completely wipes out any points you earned. This masterclass only works if you treat your credit card like a debit card, spending only what you have and paying the statement in full every single month. Step by step, the application strategy for these mid-tier cards requires a surgical approach. If you are applying for your first mid-tier card, you should check for pre-approval first. American Express and Capital One have the most robust pre-approval tools in 2026. These tools perform a soft credit pull, which does not hurt your score, to tell you if you are likely to be approved. If the tool says you are pre-approved, the potential outcome of a successful application is over 90%. If it says you are not, you have saved yourself a hard inquiry and a wasted application. Chase is more conservative. They rarely offer pre-approval for the Sapphire cards unless you already have a banking relationship with them. This is why many beginners open a simple Chase Total checking account 6 months before applying for a Sapphire card. It builds the relationship and increases the odds of an automated approval. Think about the long-term trajectory. If you start with the Sapphire preferred in March of 2026, hit the bonus by June, and then add the Amex Gold in September, you could easily have 150,000 points by the end of the year. That is enough for a round-trip flight to Europe in business class and 3 nights in a high-end hotel. You have achieved this by spending money you were already going to spend on food, gas, and bills. In the next part, we are going to look at the hidden world of credit card retention departments. We will look at the specific scripts you can use to get your annual fee waived, and how to handle a denial if the bank says no. We will also dive into the $5,000 mistake that many travelers make when they try to use their points for a friend or family member. There are very specific rules about whose name can be on the ticket when you use your miles, and if you get it wrong, the airline can cancel the ticket and seize your points. We are also going to reveal the best card for 2026 that almost nobody talks about, because it isn't made of metal, and it doesn't have a flashy commercial, but it offers the highest cashback to travel conversion in the entire industry. The card that represents the ultimate secret weapon for the 2026 traveler is the Bank of America Preferred Rewards ecosystem, specifically the customized cash rewards and the premium rewards elite cards. While Chase and Amex get all the social media attention, Bank of America has built a system that rewards deep banking relationships with the highest mathematical returns in the country. Imagine Chloe, a project manager in Denver. Chloe has $100,000 in a combination of her savings and her Merrill Edge investment account. Because she hits this threshold, she is a Platinum Honors member. This gives her a 75% bonus on all credit card rewards. Her standard cashback card, which normally earns 3% on a category of her choice like online shopping or gas, now earns 5.25%. Her travel card, which normally earns 1.5 points per dollar, now earns 2.62 points on every single purchase. For a high spender who wants the simplicity of cash with the power of travel rewards, this is the most efficient engine in existence. However, even with the best cards in the world, the most common way beginners lose value in 2026 is through the mismanagement of the points themselves, specifically when trying to book for others. This is the $5,000 mistake. Most airline loyalty programs allow you to book a ticket for anyone using your miles, but they are incredibly sensitive to what looks like the sale of those miles. In 2026, airline fraud algorithms are more aggressive than ever. Imagine if Chloe tries to book a business class flight for her cousin using her miles, but she uses her cousin's credit card to pay the $50 in taxes and fees. To the airline's automated system, this looks like Chloe sold her miles to a stranger. Historical trends show that this can lead to an immediate account freeze, the cancellation of the ticket while the traveler is at the airport, and the permanent forfeiture of every mile in the account. The rule is simple. If you are using your miles for someone else, you must be the one to pay the taxes and fees using a card in your name. Step by step, the most important conversation you will ever have with a bank happens when your second-year annual fee hits. This is the retention call. By 2026, banks have realized that it costs them 5 times more to acquire a new customer than to keep an existing one. Let's look at a case study of a traveler named Robert. Robert has had the Amex Platinum for a year. The $895 fee just appeared on his statement. Instead of getting angry, Robert opens the chat in his mobile app. He uses a very specific script. I am considering closing my account because I am finding it difficult to justify the annual fee given my current travel plans. But I wanted to see if there are any retention offers or spend bonuses available that might help me keep the card. Because Robert spent at least $15,000 on the card over the year, the bank offers him 50,000 points to keep the card open for another 12 months. In the 2026 economy, those points can be used to book a round-trip flight to Hawaii, which is worth far more than the fee he just paid. Robert effectively just got his premium membership for free. If the bank says no, you have to be prepared for the downgrade. We call this the escape hatch. If you are a beginner with a Chase Sapphire Preferred and you don't want to pay the $95, you don't cancel. You ask to move to the Chase Freedom. This preserves your credit history and your relationship with the bank. The historical data on credit scores shows that the length of your credit history is 15% of your total score. If you cancel your oldest cards every time a fee comes up, you are constantly resetting that clock and keeping your score lower than it needs to be. In 2026, a lower credit score means higher interest rates on everything from your car to your cell phone plan. Now we have to address the biggest myth of 2026. That you need to spend a fortune to earn enough points for a big trip. This is where the concept of the shopping portal comes in. Every major bank, Chase, Amex, and Capital One, has an online portal. If you are going to buy a new pair of running shoes from Nike or a laptop from Apple, you do not go directly to their website. You go to the Chase portal first, click the link for Nike, and then shop as normal. In 2026, it is common to see 10 or even 15 points per dollar offered for specific retailers. Imagine you are buying a $1,000 laptop. By clicking that one extra link, you just earn 10,000 points. That is the equivalent of spending $5,000 on a normal credit card. All for 3 seconds of extra work. Case studies show that the average American household could earn an extra 30,000 to 50,000 points a year, just by using shopping portals for the things they are already buying online. We also need to look at the hidden cost of the 2026 travel portals. Banks like Capital One and Chase really want you to book through their own websites because they act as the travel agent and take a commission. To incentivize this, they offer 5 or 10 times the points. But there is a massive risk here for beginners. When you book a flight through a portal, the airline does not own your reservation. The bank does. If your flight is canceled or delayed, the airline will often tell you that they cannot help you and that you must call the bank. In 2026, with airline staffing shortages, being stuck in a 3-hour phone queue with a credit card customer service rep while you are standing in a chaotic airport terminal is a nightmare scenario. For flights, the historical trend suggests it is almost always better to book directly with the airline and take the lower point earned for the sake of your own sanity. For hotels, the portals are safer, but remember that you usually will not earn hotel loyalty points or get your elite status benefits, like free breakfast or room upgrades, if you book through a third-party portal. Imagine if you could accurately calculate the value of every point before you spend it. This is the 2026 point valuation baseline. For Chase, you should never accept less than 2 cents per point. For Amex, you should aim for 1.8 cents. For Capital One, 1.5 cents is the target. If you are looking at a flight and the math comes out to 1 cent per point, you are better off just paying cash and saving your points for a higher value redemption later. Points are a currency, and like any currency, they are subject to inflation. In 2026, we have seen several major airlines increase the number of miles required for a flight. This means you should not hoard your points for 5 years. The goal is to earn them and burn them. 1 million points sitting in a bank account is an asset that is losing value every single day. As we approach the final stages of this masterclass, the question remains: which card is the absolute best for you right now? The answer depends on your answer to one question. Are you willing to do 30 minutes of research before you book a trip? Or do you want to set it and forget it? If you are a set it and forget it person, the Capital One Venture X is your winner. If you are willing to do the work for maximum luxury, the Amex Platinum and Gold combo is your path. And if you are somewhere in the middle, looking for the best overall value for a US family, the Chase Sapphire Preferred is the king. In the next part, we are going to dive into the specific application timeline. We will look at exactly how many days you need to wait between applications to avoid being flagged as a risky borrower. We will also look at the impact of the 2026 interest rate environment on credit card approvals and why your debt-to-income ratio is suddenly the most important number in your application, even more than your credit score. We will reveal the one secret phrase you can use if you get a pending or denied message to get a human to reconsider your application on the spot. This is the difference between waiting 30 days for a rejection letter and getting an instant $5,000 credit limit increase. The secret phrase you need to memorize is, "I would like to speak with the reconsideration department to discuss my application and provide any additional information that might help with an approval." In the American credit landscape of 2026, automated systems make 90% of the decisions, but they are often programmed with overly cautious parameters. Imagine David, a freelance consultant in Austin, Texas. David has a 740 credit score and earns $120,000 a year. He applied for the Chase Sapphire Preferred, but received a message saying his application was pending and he would receive a letter in 2 weeks. Most beginners simply wait for that letter, which often ends up being a rejection based on a technicality, like having too many recent inquiries or a low credit limit on a different card. Instead, David called the Chase reconsideration line immediately. When he reached a human representative, he explained that he has been a loyal customer with a checking account for 3 years, and that he was planning a major business trip where the Sapphire Preferred's travel protections would be essential. The representative looked at his file and noticed that the automated system flagged him because he had a high balance on one of his other cards that month, even though he paid it off in full every cycle. David offered to move some of the credit limit from his existing Freedom Unlimited card over to the new Sapphire Preferred. Within 5 minutes, the representative manually overrode the system and approved him for a $10,000 limit. This is a case study in why the human element still matters in 2026. If you get a denial, it is not the end of the road. It is the beginning of a negotiation. Step by step, the timing of your applications is the next most critical factor for success. Banks use velocity rules to prevent people from opening too many accounts too quickly. A common historical trend is the 2 in 90 rule, which suggests you should not apply for more than 2 cards from the same issuer within a 90-day window. If you ignore this, you risk an automatic denial or worse, a financial review where the bank freezes all your accounts to verify your income. In 2026, American Express is particularly sensitive to this. If they see you opening 3 cards in 4 months, they might suspect you are in financial distress, even if your intentions are purely for travel points. A safe cadence for a beginner is 1 new card every 90 to 120 days. This allows your credit score to recover from the hard inquiry and demonstrates to the banks that you are a responsible, long-term user. We must also talk about the specific impact of 2026 interest rates on your strategy. While we emphasize paying your balance in full, your debt-to-income ratio, or DTI, has become a primary metric for card approvals. If you are carrying a high balance on a car loan or have significant student debt, a bank might deny your travel card application, even if your credit score is high. They calculate how much of your monthly income is already committed to debt. If that number exceeds 40%, you are in the high-risk zone. Before applying for a premium card like the Venture X or the Amex Platinum, ensure that your reported balances on all other cards are as close to zero as possible. This lowers your utilization and improves your DTI in the eyes of the algorithm. Imagine if you could bypass the annual fee for your first year entirely. In 2026, targeted offers are more prevalent than ever. Before you use a standard public link, you should check for what we call the mailer offers. These are physical letters sent to your home that often contain a unique invitation code. Historical data shows that these targeted offers frequently have lower spending requirements or higher bonuses than the ones available on the bank's homepage. For example, while the public offer for the Amex Gold might be 60,000 points, a targeted mailer might offer 90,000 points. Never throw away credit card mail without checking the terms. You might be tossing a $500 advantage into the recycling bin. Furthermore, we need to address the ethical and tactical side of the referral system. In 2026, most travel cards allow you to refer a friend and earn a bonus, often 10,000 to 20,000 points per person. If you and a partner are both getting into this hobby, you should never both apply using a public link. If person A gets the card first, they can then send a referral link to person B. This generates a bonus for person A, and the standard sign-up bonus for person B. This is a legitimate way to earn an extra 50,000 points a year within a single household. However, you must be careful not to post your links on public forums or use them in a way that looks like spam, as banks have begun clawing back points from users who violate their referral terms of service. Let us look at a case study of a couple in Seattle, Sarah and Mark. In 2026, they wanted to fly to Italy for their anniversary. Sarah applied for the Chase Sapphire Preferred and earned 75,000 points. She then referred Mark, earning 15,000 points for herself, and Mark earned another 75,000 points upon completing his spend. Between the two of them, they now have 165,000 Chase points. By combining their points into one account, a feature Chase allows for members of the same household, they had enough for 2 round-trip tickets on United Airlines, booked through the Aeroplan transfer partner for a massive discount. If they had applied separately using public links, they would have missed out on 15,000 points, which is roughly the cost of a domestic flight within the United States. However, there is a trap in 2026 called the pop-up jail. This is specifically an American Express phenomenon. You might fill out an application and right before you hit submit, a box pops up saying you are not eligible for the sign-up bonus. This usually happens because the bank's algorithm has determined that you are a gamer, someone who only opens cards for the bonus and then stops using them. To avoid pop-up jail, the historical trend suggests you should keep a small amount of recurring spending on your existing Amex cards, like a Netflix subscription or a gym membership. This shows the bank that you are an active customer, not just a bonus hunter. If you do hit pop-up jail, do not submit the application. Close the window and wait 30 days while increasing your spend on your current Amex cards before trying again. We must also mention the 2026 update to the global entry and TSA pre-check benefits. Almost every card we have discussed, from the Sapphire Reserve to the Venture X, offers a $100 credit for these programs. But in 2026, the application backlog for global entry has reached record lengths. Many travelers are finding that even with the credit, they can't get an interview for 6 months. The secret is to use the Mobile Passport Control app, which is free and often faster than the global entry line at many major U.S. airports. Use your credit card to pay for the TSA pre-check portion, which is processed much faster, and use the free app for your international returns. This gives you the best of both worlds without the headache of the global entry interview waitlist. Imagine if you had a roadmap for the next 12 months that told you exactly when to apply, when to spend, and when to book. In the final part of this masterclass, we are going to provide that exact template. We will summarize the perfect beginner's first year, starting from day 1 to month 12. We will also reveal the one card that everyone should have in their drawer as a backup. A card with no annual fee and no foreign transaction fees that works everywhere in the world when your primary card is declined. Finally, we will address the most important question of all. How do you know when you have too many cards and when is it time to stop? The answer is not a number, but a specific financial metric that we will define in the conclusion of this guide. We are moving into the final stretch, where we turn all this data into a concrete, actionable plan for your future travels. The specific financial metric that determines whether you should keep adding cards or stop is the return on overhead. In 2026, as you build a portfolio of travel cards, you are not just managing points, you are managing a small business of one. Every card you add requires a mental and administrative commitment. You have to track the statement closing dates to ensure no interest is ever paid, monitor for fraudulent charges, and ensure you are actually using the credits you are paying for via annual fees. If the time you spend managing your cards, calling reconsideration lines, tracking rotating categories, and searching for award space begins to lower your hourly rate of return below the value of the travel you are earning, you have reached your personal saturation point. For most Americans in 2026, that number is between 3 and 5 strategic cards. Let us construct the perfect 12-month roadmap for a beginner starting today in March 2026. Imagine Sarah, a librarian in Columbus, Ohio, who has never had a travel card. In month 1, Sarah applies for the Chase Sapphire Preferred. She chooses this because she is at 0 out of 24 on the Chase 524 scale. She uses the card for her groceries, dining, and a new car insurance premium. By month 3, she has spent the required $4,000 and earned an 80,000-point bonus. She now has approximately $1,200 in travel value sitting in her account. In month 4, Sarah adds the Chase Freedom Flex. She does this because it has no annual fee and allows her to earn 5 points per dollar on rotating categories like Amazon or gas stations. By month 6, she has earned another 20,000 points from the Freedom Flex sign-up bonus. She now has 100,000 points total. In month 7, Sarah decides to look toward a premium experience and applies for the Capital One Venture X. Because she waited 6 months since her last major application, her credit score has rebounded from the initial inquiry. She hits the spend on the Venture X by month 10, adding another 75,000 miles to her arsenal and gaining airport lounge access for her upcoming summer trip. By month 12, Sarah has 2 high-value ecosystems. She has 100,000 Chase points for a luxury Hyatt stay and 80,000 Capital One miles for her international flights. Total annual fees paid, $490. Total travel value earned, approximately $3,500. This is a case study in the power of a disciplined, chronological approach. Sarah did not rush. She followed the rules of the banks and maximized her return on spend. However, we must address the backup card that every traveler needs. In 2026, you never want to be in a situation where your primary card is declined because of a fraud alert or a technical glitch while you are in a foreign country. The card for this specific role is the Wells Fargo Autograph. It has no annual fee, no foreign transaction fees, and it earns 3 points per dollar on a massive range of categories including travel, transit, gas, dining, and even popular streaming services. While its transfer partners were historically weaker than Chase or Amex, by 2026, Wells Fargo has expanded its network to include major international players. Having the autograph in your drawer or digital wallet ensures that you are always earning at least 3% back on your travel expenses, even if your main premium card is temporarily unavailable. Historical trends in the U.S. credit market show that the most successful users are those who treat their points as a depreciating asset. In the 2026 economy, airlines and hotels are constantly adjusting their award charts. A flight that costs 60,000 miles today might cost 80,000 miles by 2027. This is known as a devaluation. Therefore, the strategy of a masterclass traveler is to earn and burn. Do not save your points for a retirement trip 20 years away. Use them to fund your life now. If you have earned enough points for a flight to Paris, book the flight to Paris. The value of a memory made in 2026 is mathematically certain, while the value of a point in 2036 is entirely speculative. A common question beginners ask is, how many cards are too many? In 2026, the answer is found in your credit report's total credit limit versus your income. If your total available credit across all cards exceeds 50% of your annual income, some banks like Chase may stop giving you new cards or higher limits. If you find yourself in this position, you do not necessarily need to close cards. You can call the bank and ask to shift your existing credit limits. If you have a $20,000 limit on a card you don't use and you want a new card, ask the bank to reduce that limit to $5,000 and give the remaining $15,000 to your new account. This keeps the bank's total risk exposure the same while giving you the flexibility to open new products. There is also the matter of the psychological trap. Credit card companies are betting that by offering you points, they can entice you to spend more than you otherwise would. Potential outcomes for those who fall into this trap include high-interest debt that far outweighs any points earned. You must be honest with yourself. If you find that having a high credit limit makes you more likely to buy luxury items you cannot afford, then travel credit cards are not the right tool for you. The most elite travelers are often the most frugal in their daily lives. They use the cards to subsidize the luxury they refuse to pay for with cash. Imagine if you could see the world without the stress of the cost. Imagine sitting in a lounge in Istanbul, eating a chef-prepared meal, knowing that your flight home was paid for by your monthly electric bill and your grocery runs. This is the reality for those who master the systems we have discussed in this 10-part series. We have covered the FICO score gatekeepers, the 5/24 rule, the power of transferable points, the premium card showdown, and the secret of the reconsideration line. You now have more knowledge than 99% of credit card users in the United States. The final step in your journey is not just choosing a card, but choosing a destination. Points are just numbers on a screen until they are transformed into a boarding pass. As we conclude this masterclass, your homework is to pick one place you have always wanted to go. Whether it is the mountains of Japan, the beaches of Greece, or a simple trip to visit family across the country. Once you have that goal, look at which airline flies there and which hotel chain has a presence. That is the ecosystem you should start with. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single application, but it is sustained by the knowledge of how to navigate the system. You have the map, you have the data, and you have the strategies to avoid the traps. The world is much smaller when you aren't paying for the flight. While this concludes our beginner's guide to choosing a card, the real adventure begins once the card arrives in the mail. In our next series, we are going to dive into the advanced world of award searching, the specific websites and software tools that find the hidden business class seats that never show up on Google Flights. We will show you how to use a single 70,000-point bonus to fly all the way around the world with stops in 3 different continents. The door to global travel is officially open.